Discover the incredible, life-changing love story that will touch your heart like never before. Sarah poured coffee into a chipped mug, watching steam curl into the air like whispered hopes. The old diner buzzed, laughter intertwining with the clatter of forks and plates. It felt alive, a heartbeat in the midst of a struggling town. But every smile she flashed masked the worry gnawing at her insides. Bills piled high, doubts creeping in, and all she could think about was her daughter, Lily. At 8 years old, Lily was everything, a glittering spark of joy that lit up Sarah's dark days. She could almost hear her father's voice echoing in her mind, "What matters is how hard you fight for what you love." Just as she would never let Lily go hungry, she would fight for a better life, but that fight felt heavy. With every shift, Sarah served plates of fried comfort food while dreaming of brighter tomorrows, of ballet classes and summer camp, of seeing Lily flourish in a world free from struggle. Yet, shadows loomed. Every reminder of her father, a war hero with pride etched into his weathered face, filled her with love and regret. He fought his battles. Now, she battled against the weight of her past. Chaos erupted one evening, plates flying and orders mingling in a frenzy. That's when she met Jake, a man with untamed hair and eyes that carried 1,000 stories. He used to be an artist, but life had worn him down, and it showed in his hesitant smile. They bonded over shared dreams and resilience, the easy exchange of hope weaving an unexpected connection. Sarah could feel something shift within her, a reflection of an old flame igniting, a spark of possibility amid the mundane routine, but whispers followed. Jake's father, a successful businessman cloaked in privilege, took notice. The moment Jake mentioned Sarah, there came a thunderous reply, a tide of prejudice crashing down. "You deserve better, son. Don't let a blue-collar waitress tarnish your future." That void of acceptance twisted agony within both their hearts. Day by day, Sarah felt the fabric of their connection fraying. She clenched her fists, feeling the weight of her dignity against the judgment wrapped around her. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. A fierce storm ripped through town that night, shaking foundations and shattering windows. Lightning split the sky, and in that chaos, hope brought Sarah and Jake together again. They worked side by side, distributing supplies, offering warmth and shelter to those exposed to the tempest's fury. Within the wreckage, love bubbled to the surface, the true essence of community shining. But with every act of kindness came Jake's family's scrutiny, looming like dark clouds over their budding bond. As the town started to recover, so too did the tension rise at Jake's house. Every whispered promise felt like a ticking clock, and with one chilling ultimatum from his father, their love seemed damned. Torn between family loyalty and bonding over shared resilience, would love endure? Or would they both unravel under the strain of societal expectations? The question hung heavy in the air, wind howling just outside their doors, and Sarah felt her heart pound as the answer slipped further away. The sun peeked through the storm clouds the following morning, illuminating the remnants of the chaos that had enveloped the town. Sarah stood at the window of her tiny apartment, the light cutting through the shadows and warming her face. For a brief moment, she let herself hold on to that warmth, forgetting the heavy burden of the world outside. Lily was still asleep, curled up with her stuffed animal, the picture of innocent serenity. But as soon as Sarah allowed herself to smile, her thoughts drifted back to Jake. The intensity of their shared moments lingered, the sparks of their connection still tinged with the threat from his father. Anxiety knotted in her stomach. How could anyone deny love, especially love that blossomed amid struggle? But every time she recalled the words thrown at them, every prejudice reaffirmed by Jake's family's disdain, doubt clouded her heart. Later that day, Sarah returned to the diner, the familiar jingle of the door a bittersweet welcome. The clatter of plates and cheerful chatter felt like a comforting embrace, yet her mind was elsewhere. Each time she served coffee or filled a plate, she imagined Jake's warm smile breaking through the tension between them. He had promised to talk to his father, to fight for their love, but Sarah feared the fight might be more than he anticipated. Hours passed, but the diner's warmth couldn't thaw the chill of uncertainty. During a quiet moment, while wiping down a table, the door swung open. There stood Jake, his hair tousled by the wind, eyes bright but burdened by something Sarah couldn't quite place. He walked straight to her, as if the world around them faded away. "Sarah," he began, his voice laced with urgency, "I need to talk." They stepped out to the back of the diner, the dim alleyway filled with the scent of rain-soaked concrete and blooming wildflowers fighting for life. It seemed the entire world was holding its breath as he reached for her hands. "I can't do this without you. I won't play by my father's rules anymore." A spark of hope ignited in Sarah's chest, but the trepidation lingered. "What does that mean, Jake? You're risking everything. Your family, your future." He squeezed her hands, a grounding force in the storm of their worries. "What's the point of a future that doesn't include who you love?" I want to confront him, show him that love isn't about class or expectations. It's about connection and understanding. Her heart raced. The thought of Jake facing his father sent fear coursing through her veins. "But there's a risk, Jake. You could lose everything." "What's worse, losing everything or never trying to prove that it all means something?" His determination radiated, igniting the flickering flame in her heart. Yet, as the moment expanded, doubt seeped in again. Could love withstand the relentless tide of family expectations? Just then, the sound of their waitress duties called to them, a reminder of the everyday world waiting on the other side of their dreams. "Meet me tonight?" he asked, his voice softening. "I'll need to talk about what happens next." "Okay," she replied, her heart thudding loudly. For the first time, she dared to believe that perhaps it didn't have to end like this. But as she watched him walk away, uncertainty bubbled within. Her mind spiraled into the worst-case scenarios. What would happen to Jake if he stood up to his father? What if she lost him in the battle between love and expectation? Alone again, Sarah felt the weight of the world bearing down on her shoulders. She wanted to fight for love, but knowing the cost was steep. That night, would it all break apart, or would they rewrite their story? The question wrapped around her heart like vines, threatening to choke the hope. As dusk settled, Sarah prepared for their meeting, tears brimming with both fear and yearning. Would they find the path forward, or would they be swept away by the very storm they thought they could brave together? The light was fading fast, casting long shadows that stretched across the small, cluttered apartment. Sarah glanced at the clock. It was almost 8. Time slipped through her fingers like grains of sand. She fidgeted with her hair, the usual ritual of styling replaced by an anxious twist. Her mind raced, flipping through every moment spent with Jake, every laugh, every heartfelt conversation. But the laughter now felt tainted, intertwined with the fear gnawing at her heart. She walked over to Lily's room, peering down at her sleeping daughter. The tiny figure beneath the vibrant blanket reminded her of the innocence they both fought so desperately to protect. If Jake's confrontation failed, what would that mean for them? With one last look at her daughter, Sarah grabbed her jacket and headed out, each step heavier than the last. The streets were dimly lit, the chill in the air palpable. Every breath felt like a reminder of the storm brewing in her own heart. When she reached the cafe where they had decided to meet, her pulse quickened. The familiar rustic decor was dimmed by the twilight, but for Sarah, it felt like the safe haven they had created amidst turmoil. She entered, the bell chiming softly, and scanned the room. No sign of Jake yet. A wave of anxiety washed over her, making it harder to breathe. What if he changed his mind? What if he backed down, like so many others before? She grabbed a seat near the window, letting the comforting aroma of coffee seep into her senses as she waited. Minutes felt like hours, and just when she thought panic would take over, in he walked. Jake looked determined, but also haunted by the weight of his choice. Their eyes locked. In that instant, Sarah felt a mixture of relief and fear. He slid into the chair across from her, a faint smile hiding the storm brewing behind his eyes. "Hey," he said softly, reaching for her hand. "Thanks for coming. How did it go?" Sarah asked, her voice barely above a whisper, every piece of her poised for news that could change their lives. Jake took a deep breath, as if summoning strength from deep within. "I haven't talked to him yet. But I'm going to. Tonight, after this." "Tonight?" Her heart hammered in her chest, confusion flickering across her face. "You're going to confront him now?" "I have to," he insisted, eyes fierce. "I can't let fear keep holding me back. We need that conversation. I need it." Sarah felt a deep well of pride and love swell within her, but that pride quickly battled with fear. But what if he reacts badly? What if I don't care? I need to fight for us. His grip tightened around her fingers. "And I want you there, really there, when I do." Her heart wavered at his next words. "Will you come with me?" he asked, vulnerability seeping into his voice. Fear knotted in Sarah's stomach, battling the hopeful spark igniting within her. Could she face his father, the man who had thrown down his own gauntlet? "To your house?" she breathed, suddenly realizing the weight of the invitation. "Yes. I want you to understand everything. I don't want to hide anymore," he pleaded, his intensity matching her own. The ticking clock in the corner felt louder than ever as she absorbed his words. Her mind flickered between visions of love and nightmares of rejection. It felt as if 100 unspoken questions shimmered between them. Could they really do this? As an uncomfortable silence stretched, she looked deeply into his eyes, searching for courage. There had always been power in their connection, but tonight it felt like the ultimate test. She finally released a breath she hadn't known she was holding. "Okay, I'll go," she said, each word igniting the kindling of hope within her heart. Jake's eyes softened, relief washing over him. "Thank you," he breathed, and she couldn't help but smile at the warmth blooming between them. But just as they began to share dreams of how it might unfold, a thought darted through Sarah's mind. Would standing next to Jake mean choosing a battle that might tear them apart instead of binding them together? In that moment, boots echoed outside the cafe, an ominous sound cut through the air. Her heart dropped, sensing the impending storm. Was it danger approaching, or was Jake's father already onto their plans? Sarah met Jake's gaze, uncertainty clouding her mind once more. Could love withstand the might of a father's wrath? And as trepidation poured in, the question lingered: would they stand together, or would they be torn apart? The bell above the cafe door chimed again as more customers entered, but the sound felt distant to Sarah. Her focus sharpened on the boots. A chill ran down her spine, freezing her thoughts just as the figures stepped into view. The faces blended into a blur, but one stood out, a tall man with a stormy expression. Jake's father. "Is that?" Sarah whispered, her voice barely reaching above the din. Jake glanced toward the door, his expression shifting to one of alarm. "Yeah. That's him." Panic threatened to consume her, but she quickly inhaled, forcing herself to act. "What do we do?" she asked urgently. Jake's jaw tightened. "We finish our coffee. We talk. Now." The determination in his voice flickered like a flame against the growing darkness. Sarah's heart raced in sync with the hurried footsteps of the man approaching their table. "Jake." His voice was low but carried an edge that made the room feel suddenly smaller. Jake squeezed Sarah's hand tighter, grounding himself before facing the storm. "I'm not hiding anymore, Dad. You think you can just say that and everything is fine?" His father scoffed, looking at Sarah with veiled disdain. "This is a mistake, Jake. You'll regret it." Inside, Sarah braced herself. How many times had she watched people break under the pressure of harsh words? But tonight, she had Jake. He looked strong beside her, resolute yet vulnerable, and that made all the difference. "No," Jake said, a hint of defiance creeping into his tone, "this is not a mistake. I love her. A beat of silence hung in the air. Jake's father's expression hardened, and Sarah felt the weight of judgment pressing down on her from his gaze, trying to pin her like a butterfly under glass. That judgment stung, but she chose to smile, forcing warmth into her face. Love? Is that what you call this? You're throwing your life away on her. His father spat the last word, making it sound like an insult, but she wouldn't let him intimidate her. I'm not a mistake, she said, finding an unexpected strength within her. We deserve a chance to love each other. We're not here to ask for permission. The fury in Jake's father faltered for just a moment, enough for Jake to seize the opportunity. See? This is where we're different, Dad. I want to build my life, not be shackled by your expectations. You don't get to decide who I am. His father's thick brows furrowed in disbelief. Jake, you're still my son. You don't see the bigger picture. Someday you'll understand. Maybe I'd understand better if you actually listened. This is my life, and I get to choose how I live it. Jake's voice rang clear and strong, like a lighthouse beacon in the night. For a second, Sarah thought she saw a flicker of human recognition in the older man's eyes, but it quickly faded, replaced by steely resolve. You'll regret this moment, he barked, spinning on his heel. He stormed back toward the entrance, leaving a charged silence in his wake. That was intense, Sarah breathed out, shocked at her own bravery and the confrontation that had just ignited. Difficult but necessary, Jake said, still gripping her hand though now softer. I didn't think he'd react like that. Sarah's heart felt heavy yet strangely lighter, tangled in emotions she couldn't fully understand. What if he doesn't let it go? What if he tries to cut you out of his life? I don't know, Jake admitted, vulnerability showing through the cracks of his bravado. But I know we're in this together. The reality of their situation loomed over them, like a dense fog that threatened to suffocate the hope they had just planted, but beneath the uncertainty was a spark of possibility. Together, she echoed softly, trying to believe it. They shared a moment of silence before Jake broke it, smiling through the tension. Want to take a walk? I could use some fresh air. Sarah nodded. And maybe a plan? As they stood to leave, she felt a renewed sense of purpose blooming in her chest. Maybe they could handle whatever came next, together. Jake's father couldn't take that away, but just before they stepped out, Sarah's phone buzzed violently in her pocket. She pulled it out, heart sinking as she read the name flashing on the screen. Jake's father. What if he's calling to offer an olive branch? Jake mused, though his voice wavered with uncertainty. Or to tear us apart, Sarah replied, her heart sinking. She debated whether to answer, knowing that every word could tip the scales. Would they be able to stand firmly in their choice, despite the fear lurking just beneath the surface? As she hesitated, the thought crept into her mind, what if this phone call was the very moment that could change everything? Sarah stared at the phone, her heart racing. The name on the screen loomed like an impending storm. For a moment, she felt paralyzed, caught between the fear of confrontation and the burning desire to protect what she had with Jake. Answer it, Jake urged, his voice low. He leaned closer, his eyes flickering with a mix of worry and encouragement. We can't run away from this, right? With a deep breath, she pressed accept and raised the phone to her ear. The bustling cafe around them faded, wrapping her in a bubble of anticipation. Hello. She managed, her voice barely above a whisper. Sarah. Jake's father's voice was colder than the winter air outside. It's good to hear your voice. She felt the heat rise to her cheeks, a mixture of anger and fear simmering just below the surface. What do you want? I think we need to have an honest conversation, he said, his tone unexpectedly calm. About Jake. About your relationship. Honest? You mean like before? Her words were sharp, aimed with intent. The last thing we need is your judgment. Listen, this isn't just about you too, he replied, irritation seeping into his voice. This is about what's best for Jake. I know, she cut him off, standing taller, finding strength in her anger. It's about what's best for Jake and me, not just what you think is best for him. A pause lingered in the air, heavy with the weight of unspoken thoughts. For a moment, Sarah felt a flicker of hope. Maybe he would see reason. Maybe this conversation could turn the tide. I'm not asking you to tear each other apart, he said, his voice softer. But you have to understand the impact this will have on him, on our family. What you represent. Love isn't a mistake, and it's not something to hide from, she shot back, her heart pounding again. It shouldn't come with conditions. Conditions? I only want to protect him. He replied, frustration creeping back in. You need to understand how this looks from the outside. You don't know how much I worry about him. You don't know the struggle he has been through. And just like that, his words struck a nerve. Sarah glanced at Jake, whose face was a mix of disbelief and anger. You don't know anything about me, she said fiercely, her voice rising. You don't get to decide who is worthy of his love. The silence on the other end was deafening, filled with the weight of everything left unsaid. Sarah, his voice dropped to an almost conspiratorial tone, I can help you. If you just hear me out. Help us. Or help yourself. She challenged. You want Jake to be your version of perfect instead of letting him be himself. She could practically feel the tension crackling through the phone line, sensing that they were skirting around something far deeper than just disagreements. But Sarah's desire to shield Jake from this aggression flooded her resolve. Enough, she said, a chill of finality in her voice. You've made your feelings clear. You don't respect us or our choices. With that, she hung up. The abrupt silence was a relief, yet her heart raced from the confrontation. She turned to Jake, who still had that fierce look in his eyes. Are you okay? He asked, stepping closer, taking the phone from her hands as though to ground her. I will be, she replied, her voice steadier than before. But he won't stop. Not now. Jake nodded, desperation creeping into his features. I know. But we have each other. Together they faced the world outside the cafe, stepping into an uncertain future that loomed ahead. Sarah grasped Jake's hand tightly, realizing that they would have to face whatever came next. A sudden gust of wind rushed by them, swirling fallen leaves and debris. It mirrored her turbulent thoughts. They might not have answers, but they had love. As they began walking, she looked up at him, trying to steel herself with courage and a smile. But the flickering question in her mind persisted: what would his father try next? And how much longer could they stand against the storm brewing in their lives? She could just feel that their fight was far from over. Sarah couldn't shake the cold chill that settled in her bones as they walked down the street. The world around them hummed with life. Children laughed, cars honked, and baristas yelled drink orders from behind cafe counters. Yet inside, she felt like she was submerged in a cloudy sea, every word from Jake's father echoing ominously in her ears. What do you want to do now? Jake asked, his voice light, feigning a sense of normalcy. But she could see the storm brewing in his eyes, the worry he tried to mask. I don't know, she admitted, glancing at storefronts, her mind racing. I mean, how do we even handle this? Let us just focus on today, he replied, squeezing her hand tighter. We'll figure it out together. Together. That word used to fill her heart with warmth, but now it felt heavy, almost burdened by the weight of anticipation. She looked at him, his features soft but determined, and she drew strength from the love that radiated between them. As they neared the park, memories washed over her days spent lounging under leafy trees, laughing over shared stories, and whispering dreams. But today, that place felt different, tainted by uncertainty. Why did he call? Jake asked suddenly. I mean, what was the point? Power, she said, her voice laced with frustration. He thinks he can control everything. But my love for you isn't something he can dictate. Jake paused, brows furrowing, and she could sense the gears in his mind turning. He just wants to protect me, his way of doing it is just wrong. I know. But this isn't about us being perfect. It's about being real, Sarah said fiercely, feeling her conviction rise. We deserve to love each other without this looming dark cloud. A flicker of hope sparked in his eyes, and Jake pulled her close, wrapping his arms around her. So, what if we face this together, no matter what? She inhaled the scent of fresh grass and blooming flowers around them. It wasn't just spring, it was life bursting forth. Amidst her worries, the essence of their love shone like the sun breaking through clouds. If they could just hold on to that. Let us go to the tree, she suggested, a smile breaking through her worry. You know the big oak we used to climb? Jake's face lit up, and he nodded. They took off toward the park, laughter spilling from their lips as they navigated their way through the familiar paths. When they arrived, Sarah felt like a child again, joy rushing through her veins. She circled the massive trunk, her hands resting against its rough bark that felt like a comforting embrace. This tree has seen everything, right? Yeah, and it's still standing, Jake said, laughing. Like us. Suddenly, the laughter faded, and a peaceful silence enveloped them. They leaned against the tree, their eyes searching each other's faces. But reality had a way of creeping in, an unwelcome visitor. What if he tries to come between us? Jake asked, tension edging back into his voice. What if he escalates it? The thought sent a tremor through Sarah. Then we stand firm. We're a team, remember? We won't give up this love that matters to us. Together, he echoed, and she wished she could believe it without the weight of doubt pressing down, but her gut told her this was only the beginning of their fight. They would need more than love to face the storm brewing on the horizon. As the sun began to sink, casting long shadows across the grass, Sarah glanced toward the sky. It's beautiful, isn't it? She breathed, almost like a prayer. Yeah, Jake replied, his eyes never leaving hers. In that moment, before reality crashed in again, she held on to a fleeting thought. This love, their love, was worth every battle they might have to fight. Yet just as hope started to fill the cracks in her heart, a figure appeared at the park entrance. It was Jake's father, his expression so tightly wound it froze the very air between them. What is he doing here? Sarah whispered, dread coiling in her stomach. Jake's grip tightened, and together, they braced themselves for the confrontation that was about to unfold, knowing that everything was about to change. Once again. The air felt electric as Jake's father approached, his eyes dark with resolve. Every step he took toward them felt like the ticking of a clock, each moment brimming with either confrontation or change. Sarah's heart raced as she exchanged an anxious glance with Jake. There was a storm brewing within him too, evident in the tension of his jaw and the way his hands clenched at his sides. Jake, his father called, voice steady but strained. We need to talk. The words hung in the air, heavy with authority. I'm not going anywhere with you, Jake shot back, a protective edge slicing through his tone. Sarah admired his bravery, but she couldn't ignore the fear looming in his eyes. You don't understand, his father continued, stopping just a few feet away, his face serious. This isn't just about you two. It's about your future, about what really matters. Sarah wanted to scream. What did he know about their future? They had dreams and plans that they had crafted together, not dictated by inflexible rules or fears. She stepped closer to Jake, instinctively grounding herself in his presence. We love each other, she stated, her voice firm. That matters more than anything else. Jake's father scoffed, love? Love isn't what puts food on the table or keeps a roof over your head. You need stability. No, Dad. Jake snapped, eyes blazing. You need to understand that love is what gives us strength. It's our foundation, not just a whim. The two stared each other down, the tension so thick that it felt suffocating. Sarah could barely breathe. She wished they were back at the oak tree, laughing and pondering their dreams instead of standing in this battlefield of emotions. Jake's father glanced between them, brow furrowed, as if weighing his next words. You think resisting me will help? This will only end in heartbreak for both of you, he warned, a gentler edge creeping into his voice. Jake's expression softened, the fight leaving him just a little. Dad, why can't you just accept that I'm happy? We're happy. Silence stretched between them, thick and palpable. Sarah felt the weight of the world on her. Was this the moment when everything shattered, or could it transform into something that stretched beyond the pain? Jake's father took a step back, his features hardening again. You think you know what happiness is at your age? You're naive, he said dismissively. No, I'm not. Jake's voice rose, echoing off the park's stillness. I know what it feels like to have someone stand by me, to feel safe and loved. Not controlled. Tears pricked Sarah's eyes as she struggled to keep calm. She wanted to find the right words, something that could ease the chasm growing between them, but her heart was drowning in the clash of anger and desperation. Then, before she could process the shift, Jake's father turned on his heel. You need to think this through, Jake, he called over his shoulder, striding away. Wait! Jake shouted, taking a step forward. But the man didn't. He looked back. The air felt cold, the warmth they had shared moments ago evaporating into awkward silence. Jake, Sarah whispered, reaching for him. What are we going to do? He took her hand, holding it tight, and for a fleeting moment, she felt reassured by his presence. We keep moving forward, he said, although his voice trembled. But deep down, Sarah could sense the fracture that just spread within their lives, the shadows of uncertainty creeping back into their small sanctuary. Together? She asked, searching his eyes for a glimmer of that hope. Together, Jake vowed, but as they spoke the word, Sarah's heart tangled with doubt. Was their love strong enough to withstand the storm? Just then, Jake's phone vibrated in his pocket, cutting through the stillness. He glanced at the screen, frowning. It's my mom, he murmured, an edge of worry returning to his voice. With an uncertain dread creeping through her, Sarah squeezed his hand. Take it. Maybe she can help. Jake nodded slowly, but Sarah couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning of their troubles. What revelations might come from this call? Would it bring them closer or tear them further apart? She braced herself, knowing their story had many more chapters to unfold. Jake stared at his phone as if it had just sprouted legs and started dancing. His mom was on the other end. Would she understand? Would she side with his father or with him? With a shaky breath, he answered, putting the phone to his ear. Hey, Mom. Jake. Thank God you answered. Her voice was a mixture of relief and urgency. I've been trying to reach you. Where are you? He glanced at Sarah, who was watching him intently. I'm at the park with Sarah. I need you to come home. Now, she insisted, almost breathless. Why? What is going on? Jake's heart sank. Her tone sounded serious. As fear wrapped around him like a vice, he wondered if this was about the argument with his father. Please, honey. We need to talk. I don't want to discuss this over the phone, she urged. The worry clawed at him. Is it Dad? There was a pause, and he caught the tremor in her voice. It's about everything, Jake. Just trust me. He wanted to scream. Trust? Trust had been shattered in that confrontation moments ago. I can't just leave Sarah. We were in the middle of something important, he said, his voice wavering. Jake, she said softly but firmly, you know I wouldn't ask if it wasn't urgent. Just come home. With a sinking heart, he looked at Sarah, trying to gauge her reaction. She narrowed her eyes, her expression a mix of concern and support. Her fingers were wrapped tightly around his. Go, she said quietly, you need to see her. The resolve in her words steadied him, despite the turmoil swirling inside. Okay, I'll be there in a few minutes. As he hung up, the silence wrapped around them again. Jake, are you okay? Sarah's worry was palpable. He forced a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. I guess we'll find out. I'll come back as soon as I can. Promise? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. Promise. But as he started to walk away, doubt rippled through him like a stone tossed into a pond. What would his mother say? What was there to discover that he didn't already know? Jake's legs felt heavy as he walked toward the parking lot. Each step away from Sarah felt like a thread unraveling between them. The sunlight dappling through the trees above felt brighter, more oppressive, as if it understood the gravity of the moment that in his mind, he spun various scenarios. Would she tell him to stay with Sarah or to listen to his father? Would she declare that his happiness was her top priority, or would she emphasize the importance of security over love? Arriving at his car, he sat down and took a deep breath, gripping the steering wheel so tightly his knuckles turned white. Memories of Sarah flooded his mind, the laughter, the shared dreams, the moments spent entwined in one another. How could one conversation change everything they had built together? As he drove, the familiar roads blurred by. His heart thudded heavily against his chest with each passing moment leading to what he would face at home. He pulled into the driveway and glanced at the house, dark clouds looming overhead. His mother stood on the porch, looking out, worry etched on her face. Would they agree? Could they reach some understanding? Taking one last deep breath, he stepped out of the car, resolve hardening. Mom, he called as he approached, feeling like a warrior heading into battle. Jake! She rushed to him, grabbing his hands, urgency in her grip. Thank you for coming. But just before she could explain, the door swung open behind her, and Jake's father appeared, his eyes narrow. Dad, Jake breathed, a tangled mix of fear and determination swelling inside. This was the moment everything shifted, and he braced for what was about to unfold. Would they come to a resolution, or would new divisions tear them apart? The weight of all his uncertainties coursed through him, and as the door shut behind them, silence fell heavy once more, thick with unspoken words. Jake's father stepped forward, crossing his arms tightly, a fortress of resolve. The atmosphere crackled between them, laden with tension. Jake's mother's grip on his hands tightened, as if she were afraid to let go. Why are you here, Jake? His father's voice sliced through the silence, recalling every nerve-wracking moment from their earlier argument. Dad, Jake stammered, struggling for the right words. He could feel the weight of his mom's gaze on him, filled with both support and fear. Mom said we needed to talk. Talk about what? His father's expression hardened, and Jake could see anger simmering just beneath the surface, like a pot ready to boil over. About everything, Jake's mother interjected, stepping slightly in front of Jake, serving as a barrier against his father's fury. It's not just about you and Jake. It's about us. As a family. Jake sensed the ripple of confusion in his father's stance. Us? There's nothing left to discuss. Jake needs to learn the value of hard choices. Value? Or fear? Jake could feel the tremor in his own voice now, raw and edged with defiance. Is that all this is to you? A lesson? The words hung heavy in the air. Jake's father shifted, surprise painting his features for a fleeting moment before stoically regaining composure. Watch your tone, son, he warned, but Jake stood firm, drawing a deeper breath. It's not just about the choices made before me, he pressed, audibly boxing in the rush of frustration. It's about what I want. What will make me happy? Jake, it's not that simple, his father barked, but Jake felt the urgency of his mother's hands on his arms, steadying him. But it should be, Dad. It should be simple. Life shouldn't be about fear or being forced into a life you didn't choose. He was surprised by the heat coursing through him, but he pushed on. I love Sarah. Isn't that what matters? Silence cloaked the porch once more. This time, it wasn't uncomfortable, it was momentous. His father's expression faltered, thoughts racing wildly across his face. Love, his father scoffed, a hint of disbelief etched in his voice. You think love will pay the bills? You think love will keep the roof over your head? Maybe not, Jake countered, determined eyes fixed on his father's, but it will make you feel alive. You can't just prioritize stability over happiness and expect it to work. You're pushing me away for what? For a safety net that doesn't even seem safe. Enough. His father's voice boomed, but Jake held his ground. Is this really about me? Jake's voice quivered slightly with unbidden emotion. Or are you just scared? The corners of his father's mouth tightened as Jake felt the walls begin to tremble. Maybe this was more than just him feeling trapped, more than a fight between father and son. Mom, Jake turned to her, seeking that warmth and understanding. What do you want out of this? For me to live a lie. Tears brimmed in her eyes, but she smiled, her voice breaking through the whirlwind. I just want you to be happy, sweetheart. But I need you to understand that there are many sides to this. As Jake faced the intensity of his father's gaze, he wondered if they could break down the barriers between them, overcome the countless misunderstandings. Would they bridge the gap? Could they accept a new path, where love and stability walked hand in hand? A rush of emotions surged through him. Everything felt precarious, and he feared what would happen next. Jake, the voice behind him, was unmistakable. He turned to see Sarah standing at the end of the driveway, worry plastered across her face. Her presence was a balm amidst the brewing storm, but what did it mean for the confrontation ahead? Jake, what is happening? She whispered, and suddenly, it all felt so much bigger than him. With the walls of his family around him, could he stand tall and fight for love? The air thickened as all eyes turned to him, questions swirling like leaves in the wind. What would be his next move? Jake's heart raced as he faced the spiraling tension around him. Sarah's worried eyes pierced through the chaos, offering him the hope he desperately needed. It was the moment of truth, the ultimate test. With a deep breath, he stepped toward her, feeling the force of their bond radiate between them. Sarah, he began, his voice trembling yet determined. You need to know how much I love you. Nothing will ever change that. She nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. Those words acted as a bridge across the tumult, weaving their hearts together in the storm. Enough with the dramatics. Jake's father interjected, anger bubbling beneath the surface. This is not how you build a life, Jake. You need to focus on what's right, not what feels good. Without hesitation, Jake rebutted, and what's right? Living a life shackled by expectations? That's not living at all. It's not how I want to spend my days. He felt a surge of courage pump through him as he spoke. Jake, think about your future, his father snapped, his authority wavering. You're jeopardizing everything for a fleeting romance. The implications of those words loomed like dark clouds, but Jake was done fearing them. Do you really think I don't care about my future? It's not what you want from me, it's what I want. And I want Sarah, Dad. I want a life built on love, not fear. Silence enveloped them, and then Jake's mother spoke, her voice steady. Jake's right. Love adds a depth to life that nothing else can provide. Maybe it's time we rethink what we've always believed. Jake glanced at Sarah, her presence grounding him. He could see the spark of hope ignite in her eyes, and it emboldened him further. Dad, if you can't accept who I love or the choices I make, then that's a reflection of you, not of me. The tension shifted like the wind, Jake's father's expression faltered. That imperceptible crack in his armor could mean everything. I thought I was protecting you, he finally retorted, his voice losing some of its venom. By trying to control me? Jake asked, voice calm but firm. Love is about support and acceptance. If you really care about me, you have to let go. A long silence lingered. Hope flickered between them like a candle fighting against the wind. Jake took a step closer to his father, his mother's grip tightening on his arm as he did. Can we talk this out? Just as a family? Jake's father stood rooted, uncertainty shadowing his features. I need time to think, he stammered, the fury seeping away. Please, Jake pressed, heartfelt emotion spilling into every word. Just listen. We're not here to create discord. We want a future where family bonds matter, and love prevails. Jake's father blinked hard. This is more complex than you think, Jake. Then let us unravel it together, Jake urged, turning toward Sarah and inviting her into the circle. Sarah matters to me. I need you to understand why. Love shouldn't be complicated. It should be our greatest strength. Together, Sarah whispered, taking Jake's hand. He could feel her warmth coursing through him, emboldening his plea. After a heartbeat that stretched into eternity, Jake's father finally exhaled. I fear for you both, but it seems I have a lot to learn myself. Jake's heart raced as the words hung in the air, a bridge between their worlds stretching into possibility. You're right about something, Jake's father admitted, shoulders slumping. I've been holding on to an outdated notion of love. I guess my idea of stability was distorted by my experiences. Exactly. Jake exclaimed, the warmth of hope expanding between them. It's not about paved paths, it's about the raw, messy journey of life, and it's a journey you shouldn't walk alone. With renewed determination, Sarah stepped closer, the poised strength nestled in her heart shining through. We can redefine what family means. Just remember, love can be the basis for everything, just as it has always been. The distance between them shrank, and as a small glimmer of hope started to illuminate his father's face, Jake spoke again. Then let it begin now, he said firmly. Our future can be ours together. Finally, Jake's father sighed, the tightness in his expression easing. Perhaps I've been too hard on both of you, he admitted, searching his son's eyes. Let us start fresh, Jake urged, feeling Sarah's hold on him tighten. Let us rebuild as a family. The battle had been fought, the walls began to crumble. As they stood together, amid flickers of hesitation and hope, the air transformed. It buzzed with the promise of love conquering fear, a testament to connection greater than their doubts. Love had propelled them through the storm, and for the first time, Jake felt the weight of his father's judgment lift, setting them free. The moment marked a new beginning, a chance to redefine their story, written together, fueled by love. The path ahead was still uncertain, but together, surrounded by the bond of family, they were ready to embrace the journey. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting hues of gold and warmth across their faces, Jake realized that love truly triumphed, no matter the storm. And this was just the beginning. You need to subscribe now to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories, because what is coming next will touch your heart like never before. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it absolutely makes all the difference. Don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending. Remember, only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.